Hello from New York, I'm Tom Brooke. In today's program, Richard Gere and Winona Ryder in Autumn in New York. Edward Norton discusses his directorial debut and the film career of American comedian Chris Rock. All that and more in this edition of Talking Movies.
Talking movie. Talking movie. Talking movies. Talking movie. Talking movies.
We start today with a new Hollywood release which goes by the name of Whipped. And by all accounts, it seems to be a film that should be whipped into a state of oblivion. It's a smutty tale of three unlikable young men who all fall for the same woman. Laura Metzger reports.
Over there. Pigs.
Besides all being 20-something urban New Yorkers, Brad, Zeke, and Jonathan have little else in common except the fact they're best friends and obsessed with scoring or scamming on the opposite sex. You meet this trio, plus a fourth married friend who tags along for the ride as they brag about their latest female exploits.
I'm going in. Hi. Have we met before?
Excuse me?
I'm sure I've met you before.
Oh, I don't think so.
Maybe through a friend or something.
She's not interested, okay? Just go.
What's your name? Maybe it'll come back to me.
I'm really not interested, so...
Look, I'm sorry. It's just that you totally look like one of my sister's friends, and I wanted to come over and say hi. Sorry.
Wait a minute, who's your sister?
I kind of think of this film as, in some ways, it's sort of like a wildlife documentary. Sort of like, it's like the mating call of the urban male, or the mating dance of the urban male. That's how I see it. And just like different birds have sort of different plumage, these three different guys have different plumage. You know, Zeke is, as I said, very urban. Brad is a blue shirt, Wall Street guy, and then Jonathan is sort of the New York actor, dressed in black.
But our modern-day Casanovas are in for a shock. Within a week, they all meet and fall in love with the same girl, an outgoing and charming woman named Mia, played by Amanda Peet.
How is that possible? I mean, it's New York City. What are the odds of that?
Apparently, pretty high.
She wants to be with all three of them for different reasons, so, but eventually, you know, obviously you can't stay with three men your whole life, so you have to figure it out. So that's the dilemma.
Mia is beautiful, she's intelligent, she's funny, and she sort of, you know what she does? She appeals to all the different guys. Like, we're all very different guys. One guy is, like, really into like, crazy monkey sex, and another guy is into, like, success and money, and I'm, like, a really sensitive guy. And Mia, like, can fill all our needs. You know, that's what's amazing about Mia. And so that's why she's, you know, that's why we're all whipped.
Whipped is Peter M. Cohen's feature film debut that he shot with a minimal crew over a 2-week period in New York City. Although Cohen classifies his film as an irreverent comedy about the highs and lows of dating, most of the film is told from the male point of view about how to deal specifically with Mia.
These are such guys, and they're not used to this situation. They've never actually fallen in love with a woman before. It's always been about, like, you know, their stories, you know, themselves, just being with the guys, hanging out, having a good time. And then she comes in and just, you know, none of them are expecting to fall in love with her, or even, like, you know, fall in like with her, whatever they do, but they do. And that's what I find so interesting. I find this movie more about guys and their friendships and, you know, what happens when someone comes in and just rips that apart.
Although in this case, the movie's title, Whipped, refers to the control a woman can have over a man, it might also apply to how critics felt after seeing this movie and then having to write about it.
As long as she's got buns like a champ, I'm happy.
Please.
Critics fault the film for its overly crude dialogue and the fact that we're left not really liking any of the movie's characters. All three men become overdrawn stereotypes of the Wall Street playboy, the sensitive nice guy, and the artsy filmmaker. Even Mia turns out to be as cruel and conniving as any of the men were at their scamming worst. Most reviews agree that Cohen may have been striving for comedy, but that it's hard to find the humor in Whipp's utterly mean-spirited story.
She was begging to join me back at the stabbing cabin. I'm in Brad Heaven.
One of America's most talented entertainers is 35-year-old Chris Rock, an extremely engaging character, an irreverent comedian, a talk show host, and up-and-coming movie actor. Currently, he can be seen playing opposite Morgan Freeman in Neil LaBute's comedy, Nurse Betty.
So I'm walking down Hollywood Boulevard, checking out all the stars on the ground. You know, Clint Eastwood, Rock Hudson, no People Bryson, not one. I could not find People Bryson anywhere, right?
In this film, Chris Rock and Morgan Freeman play a pair of intermittently competent hitmen in hot pursuit of Nurse Betty. Played by Renee Zellweger, Betty is a woman who's convinced she inhabits the fantasy world of an American TV soap opera set in a hospital. Rock and Freeman's characters constantly bicker with one another.
No. Betty would not be here because of a soap opera. Not a soap opera, man. That would make her...
That would make her crazy. No spit, Shaft. And you ain't too far behind yourself.
No.
Chris Rock first began making movies 13 years ago when he played a parking valet in Beverly Hills Cop 2. He also appeared in Lethal Weapon 4. But the actor seems drawn to offbeat films and independent directors. Last year, he portrayed Rufus, the 13th apostle in Kevin Smith's irreverent religious satire, Dogma. And he seems just as much at home in Neil LaBute's dark comedy, Nurse Betty.
I thought you might be able to go out there and tell Jasmine to come outside.
Well, you thought wrong.
Hey, man, it's just an autograph. It's not for me.
No, it never is.
Hey, you need to have some better manners, man. What the hell is wrong with you? Hey, I saw your TV movie. It sucked. Hasselhoff blew you off the spring.
Well, joining me now is Chris Rock. Tell me, you always seem to work on films that have really interesting directors. I'm thinking of Dogma, this movie. Is that what makes you go for a particular film, do you think?
Yeah, I definitely want to work with the best directors and the most interesting directors. Yeah, so immediately, I like Neil LaBute's last two movies. So this was a natural. The character in this movie, the central character, Betty, she confuses fantasy and reality. Do you think there are a lot of people out there like that who actually think that the kind of make-believe world that you see in TV soap operas is somehow real? Yeah, well, there's a lot of people out there that just believe what they see. They're called idiots, but they're out there. And we know there's a lot of idiots out there, so look, be on the lookout for the idiots. They're near you.
Most of the scenes in this movie, you're working together with Morgan Freeman. Do you find him inspiring as an actor to work opposite?
Yeah, I mean, I'd never worked with anybody that strong before. I mean, not for that length of time. I mean, yeah, it only picked up my game. I've never, I mean, he kind of taught me how to act and how to take your time with the moment. Charlie, they found her in Vegas. Perfect description. Says she's with the buyer that Dell lined up.
How'd they describe her?
You know, blonde, thin, whatever.
Slow down. Blonde, thin, yeah. Did they say anything about style? Did they mention grace? Huh? Huh?
Do you think it's getting easier for black actors in Hollywood films? Because in many respects, it seems to be that they're confined just to ghetto movies or bawdy comedies.
But everybody does ghetto movies and buddy comedies. Not ghetto movies, but, you know, certain comedies, you know, Road Trip would be the equivalent of a white ghetto movie. You know what I mean? It's not easier. It's easier for some guys, but it's easier for the stars. That's what it is. But just, it's just still hard to become the star.
Where do you think you'll go with your film career? Do you want to try out a lot of very different roles?
Yeah, I don't want to, like, find a Chris Rock movie and just keep doing it. I don't know. It's not interesting to me. I mean, I like what Hanks is doing. I like what Cruise is doing. I mean, and I'm never going to be that, but, you know, it's not a formula every time.
Just back to the content of this movie for a moment. When you were growing up, were there ever movies or TV dramas that you watched and you really fantasized about being a part of them?
Boy, I wanted to be in, it's weird, be in Lethal Weapon. I ended up in Lethal Weapon. I wanted to be in a Beverly Hills Cop type movie. I ended up in Beverly Hills Cop too. So.
Have any of your fantasies not come true?
Jennifer Lopez. Hasn't happened. Sade won't return my calls. You know, you can't win them all.
Well, I wish you the best of luck in that quest, and thanks very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.
Coming up in Talking Movies, Richard Gere and Winona Ryder in the romantic drama Autumn in New York. But first, here's Richard McCaffrey with a look at this week's top 5 films at the US box office.
At number 5, Clint Eastwood and crew dust down their spacesuits for one last mission in Space Cowboys. Jennifer Lopez enters the mind of a demented serial killer in this cell at this week's number 4. Rival cheerleaders battle it out for the championships in the hit comedy Bring It On at number 3. At this week's number 2, Renée Zellweger confuses fantasy with reality in the delightfully dark comedy Nurse Betty. At number 1, James Spader is on the trail of a serial killer played by Keanu Reeves in The Watcher.